This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, good morning. Today we'll start our discussion about OSB, okay, Oracle Service Bus. So this is the first session related to OSB. And guys, to continue this session, the prerequisite, you need some, you must know some knowledge. You must have some knowledge about integration, and you must have knowledge on the SOA part. Okay, you know what is Oracle SOA suite, how to work with Oracle SOA suite. I take it as prerequisite to continue the OSB sessions. Okay, because whatever the integration, whatever the basics we discussed in SOA, everything is common between SOA and OSB. I mean, suppose you have the SOAP web service, so we should know XML, XSD, WSDL, right? So all this stuff, even we should know even for OSB project as well. Okay, so I mean, SOAP web service, irrespective of technology, the base concept will still remain same. It may be SOA, OSB, Java, .NET, or some other programming language. So I don't want to discuss about again starting from XML, XSD, WSDL, because we already covered all this stuff while we are talking about Oracle SOA programs, correct? So here I don't want to talk about XML, XSD, WSDL, these kind of basic concepts. You already know these concepts: how to write an XML, how to write an XSD, how to write a WSDL, what is the basic template of a SOAP web service, REST service. Okay, how, so you know all these concepts, right? So I want to take SOA as a prerequisite before we start OSB sessions. Okay, if you don't know SOA, it will be little difficult for you to understand the OSB session. Okay, because I'm taking SOA as the prerequisite. Uh, of course, we can discuss everything here as well. I mean, it's altogether again time-consuming process, right? Again, I need to talk about all the concepts. It's a kind of duplicate session, so I don't want to discuss about the basics which you already know, which we already discussed in SOA sessions. Okay, here we directly jump into OSB related technology. Okay, OSB related discussions. Okay, guys, the original product, OSB is not the original product of Oracle. Originally, it is Aqualogic Service Bus. There is a product called Aqualogic Service Bus from Aqualogic company. Okay, so Oracle acquired it. Oracle acquired it and did some little bit changes and some features enhanced. Okay, bunch of features enhanced and renamed the product as Oracle Service Bus. Okay, Oracle first released Oracle 11G version of Oracle Service Bus. So this has some features, I mean, few features enhanced, especially see in Oracle SOA, we have adapters concept, right? So in OSB, we don't have direct adapters. We have something called a protocol. We have a concept called protocol. I mean, if you want to read a file, you want to read JMS, okay, you want to interact with JMS, you want to interact with file database. So they don't use adapters. They use something called protocol configuration. Okay, but what Oracle did, along with protocol configuration, it also enhanced adapters. All the adapters, whatever we used in SOA, file, FTP, DB, JMS, AQ, whatever adapter we have in SOA, we can also use all the adapters in OSB after Oracle acquired Aqualogic Service Bus and renamed it as OSB. Okay, and then at this point of time, I mean, Oracle Service Bus 11G version, at this point of time, we don't use JDeveloper as our IDE. We used Eclipse. We used Eclipse for all the development. So like code development, any kind of OSB code development you want to do, you have to go to Eclipse tool and continue your development. But later Oracle released Service Bus, Service Bus 12C, Service Bus 12C. Oracle started calling it as Service Bus, or not Oracle Service Bus, Service Bus. Okay, so Service Bus 12C here. Here also, I mean, it came, I mean, the development part. So you want to write a OS program, you can do it in JDeveloper like your SOA program. Like your SOA program, you can do all the development in JDeveloper itself. You no need to go to Eclipse. Okay, so in this session, In this course, we are going to discuss about 12C version of OSB suite, service bus suite. Okay, so here we just need SOA quick start. We need to install SOA quick start, which comes with JDeveloper, right? So we are going to discuss about 12.2.1.4 version. This is the version we are going to discuss. I mean, already, whoever in this session, you already have JDeveloper with you. You already installed SOA quick start, and you already have integrated domain. We can use the same JDeveloper, same integrated domain to practice OSB services as well. Okay, so in OSB, guys, there are few terms, few terminology you must know, and you must remember the terminology. It makes the course simpler for you. Okay, so in SOA we have service component. Okay, um, component called component, and reference component. Okay, we have three kind of components in SOA, correct? Component called component. So in SOA, we have three types of components. Whenever you start any SOA program, you open any SOA program, you can see three kind of components in the composite.xml file. So in OSB also, we have three types of components. Any service component, you can treat it as proxy. Okay, let me just format it. Okay, so any service component, for your understanding, it is called as proxy service. Okay, any component called component, it is pipeline component, pipeline. And then reference components are called as business service. So we have three components in OSB. They are proxy services, pipeline, and then business service. Okay, so whenever if you start any program in OSB, instead of using this terminology, service component, reference component, we use the terms called proxy service, pipeline, business service. This way we use the terminology. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to introduce one small example to give you an introduction to the components and how we design a small program and deployment and testing part. Okay, so let me go through JDeveloper. See guys, like OSB SOA application, we can also design the OSB application. Let me create a new OSB application. Okay, it is also the same process, but instead of selecting SOA tire, we need to select the OSB service bus application. See, it's not saying Oracle service bus. They are using the term called service bus application in 12C. Okay, just say okay. You can give some mention. Um, we can say OSB practice application. Okay, some naming convention, not a I mean, just give the meaningful naming convention. It's not a mandatory keyword to provide. You can give a meaningful keyword which is convenient for your requirement and for your practice. Okay, I just want to create one application. I named it as OSB practice application. Okay, and see the directory. In this directory, it is going to create. Then click finish. You can see this, guys. I just created one application. Of course, you can go back to the folder structure. You can go to the file location. I created it in my C drive. You can go to JDeveloper folder, my work. You can see this is the application we just created. If you open it, you can see JWS file, like the same JWS file we saw for SOA application as well, right? Similarly, OSB projects, we can have collection of OSB projects under application, under OSB application. Each OSB application represented with .jws file. Okay, here you can create one OSB project. Okay, let me create one small OSB project. I will name it as, okay, I will write one small logic here. uh, I will accept one integer as input, and I want to find it out whether the input is even number or odd number. Okay, whether the provided input is even number or odd number. This is what I want to identify. Guys, I am ready with one WSDL. I have a WSDL handy with me. So this is the WSDL. Find even or odd number dot WSDL. You can see here I have a request XSD, which is accepting one input field, that is integer, and the field name is input number. Okay, and the response you can see, it contains input number, type of the number, I mean even number or odd number, whatever it is. Okay, so I want to accept an integer as input, and I want to find it out whether the provided input is even number or odd number. A small example, but here intention is not about whether it is even number or odd number, but the intention is I want to introduce OSB components to you. Okay, it's a synchronous WSDL. It's a synchronous WSDL which has an operation along with input and output parameters. Okay, so this is one concrete WSDL. I took one concrete WSDL. See, it has binding section, it has service section, but don't worry about the values. This is just a dummy value. You don't need to worry about it. If you deploy your program, you will have a fresh concrete WSDL. Okay, so this is the WSDL I want to utilize in my program. This is on my desktop. This WSDL is on my desktop. Okay, let me go to JDeveloper. Let me start the OSB program. How to design our first OSB project. It's very simple. Just go through this small icon under applications palette. Go to new and new project. So instead of OSB SOA project, we have to select the service bus. Instead of SOA tire, you can go to service bus tire. Here you can see an option called service bus project. Say okay. Okay, you can give some naming convention. I will give the find even or odd. Okay, some name. Find even or odd. It's a service bus project I'm expecting. Click finish. Okay, observe here, when you created an OSB project, it will come with one composite file. This is the composite file. And guys, there are no folders here. If you see the project, there are no folders. Whenever you create a SOA project, you observe there are bunch of predefined folders. Bunch of folders will come along with your SOA project. When you created at least the first, if you create one SOA project, immediately you can see folders, WSDL folder, schemas folder, right? But in OSB program, OSB project, you don't have folders. You need to create the folders by your own. I will show you how to create the folders. But anyway, if you want to create an OSB project here, I want to create one SOAP web service in OSB, which to find out the provided input number is even or odd. Okay, one small SOAP web service only. You can, of course, you can go with the REST web service, the SOAP web service. We can do both here. We can also use all protocols like file protocol, FTP protocol, JMS protocol, any protocol, whatever we use in SOA, like adapters. Instead of adapters, we can use protocols in OSB. Of course, we can use adapters as well. Adapters is an enhanced feature in OSB. Okay, from Oracle organization. Okay, right. Anyway, let's concentrate on the current example. I want to create one SOAP web service here. It's very simple, guys. Simple navigation. We can see there is something called pipeline. See, we have a people process in SOA project, right? So like that, we have something called pipeline component. Just drag drop the pipeline component. Just drag drop the pipeline component here. Okay, so you can give some naming convention. I will say this one as find even or odd pipeline. Okay, find even or odd pipeline, and see here the location. The location you can see here. This is the location, and click next. Guys, I want to use a WSDL. SOAP web service needs a WSDL, right? I already shown you. I have a WSDL on my desktop. Of course, you can build a WSDL as well. You can build a WSDL here. If you have XSDs, you can build a WSDL. I already have a WSDL handy with me. I just want to browse it. Click the browse button. So once you click the browse button, maybe if it is the first time you are browsing it, it will take few seconds, 10 to 15 seconds. It will block your JDeveloper. Okay. Other than that, let it load the WSDL browser component. Other than that, you can see here. Oh, okay, we got it. So go to your desktop. Go to my desktop. On my desktop, I have the WSDL. I have one backup copy of the WSDL. It's on my desktop, not in the project. Just say OK. Once you click OK button, the WSDL will be copied into your project. Observe here. This is the source URL. Source URL. This is the location of my WSDL document. It is on my desktop, and it is importing into my current OSB project. Current OSB project. My project name is Find Even or Art. This is my project name. Under this project, the WSDL will be imported. Just simply click next, finish. Okay, your WSDL imported. You can see the WSDL document under your OSB project. Okay, so this is how you can browse an existing WSDL. Guys, suppose you don't have a WSDL handy, what you can do, there is another option here, create WSDL. You can click on it and you can create the WSDL. But for this, you need to have XSD documents. If you want to create the synchronous web service, you should have a request XSD and response XSD. Then you can create the WSDL. Okay, we'll see in one example, any one example. Okay, along with pipeline, just pipeline is not enough, guys, to create a web service, especially SOAP web service. Just pipeline is not enough. We also have a service component, which is nothing but proxy in our case. See, this is what we discussed, right? We need a lot. Pipeline is the place where we write the business logic, like our people process. Okay, but this is not enough to design a web service. We also need a proxy service, which is nothing but service component. Okay, we need a proxy service. So here it is asking, do you want to expose this as a proxy service? Yes, I want a proxy service as well. Okay, so I will give a naming convention. Okay, find even or odd proxy service. Find even or odd proxy service, and see the location here. This is the location, and of course this is the protocol it is using. This is the protocol. SOAP web service uses HTTP protocol only, so we are using this protocol. Of course, we have different protocols. Okay, we can see one by one. We'll see different protocols, file, JMS, other stuff. We'll see one by one. Okay, this is the proxy service I want to generate along with my pipeline component. Okay, click finish. So once you click finish, see here, this is the proxy component, this is the pipeline component. And if you open this pipeline component, see, this is the place you build the business logic. Okay, like our people process. Of course, the approach is different. We'll see the approach. But like our people process, this is the place in the pipeline document we design the business logic. We'll talk about it more clearly. And here, if you see, I have different files. This is composite file, WSDL file, pipeline file, and proxy file. So guys, in OSB project, whenever you create one OSB project, you need to define your own folder structure. It won't come with the default folder. So what you need to do, first close all the open files. This composite is open, right? Just close it. Close it. Okay. Now what I want to do, I want to create my own folder structure. Okay. See, if you go to from gallery, there is an option called folder. Under general section, you can see folder option, and you can create proxy service folder. Okay, I just created a proxy service folder, and let me create one more folder, uh, WSDLs. Okay, and I will create another folder, pipeline. Okay, that's it. I created 3 folders, and guys, you need to move the files. It is good practice. That's it. It is not mandatory to have folders and move the files. It is a good practice to maintain the files under proper folder structure. Let's say I want to move this WSDL document under WSDL folder. How you can do, go to refactor and move. Okay, now browse the WSDL folder. Just say okay. Just observe what is happening. Guys, when you are moving the files, make sure all the files are closed in your JDeveloper. Okay, all files must be closed. That is the first important note. Otherwise, it will create issues for you. Okay, say okay, done. Now what happened? See, the WSDL document moved to WSDL folder, right? Similarly, I want to move all the files, pipeline file, pipeline component, I want to move it into pipeline folder, pipeline folder, done. And then proxy file, I want to move this into proxy folder. Now you can see all files moved into respective folders. Okay, and this is the composite. Let's open the composite. Okay, now see guys, if you open the pipeline component, pipeline, there is no business logic here. There is no business logic, and you can see these are all the list of actions. We call them as actions. In SOA, we call these things are activities, right? Assign activity, invoke activity. We have activities in people, but in OSB, we call them as actions. Okay, route action, pipeline pair action, stays action, conditional branch action. I will explain one by one. Okay, but anyway, first, I just want to show you the default behavior of the OSB program. So guys, in this program, in this pipeline component, we did not make any business logic as of now. Okay, and we don't have receive activity, reply activity kind of activities here. Okay, what I want to do is I want to deploy this program into server, and I want to show you what is the default behavior without any business logic. If you don't have any business logic in a pipeline component, it behaves like a echo service. What is it? Echo service. So I will show you what I mean by echo service. There is no business logic in our program. If I deploy this program and if I test this program, this behaves as echo service. So what is echo service? I will explain. Just wait for a few more minutes. Okay, before that, I want to show you how to deploy the program. So you can deploy this program by exporting the components, by exporting the files. Okay, suppose something like this. I have just right click on the project. There is an option called export. There is an option called export. You can select the option service bus resources. Say OK. Configure jar. We are exporting a jar file, guys. We are exporting a jar file. Click next and see here. What you want to export. You want to export the entire project or only few files. You have an option. According to your requirement, you can choose either export the entire project or the resources. I always prefer go with resources because we will have an option to choose what we want to export. File by file we can select. Okay, and here you can see include dependencies. Include dependencies. Suppose if you select the pipeline file, WSDL is the dependency file. Okay, pipeline and proxy, they have dependency on the WSDL document or any other dependency document you have, you can select it. So what I want to do, I don't want to select any dependencies. I will choose what file I want to deploy. Okay, I want to choose each and every file, which one I want to deploy. So what I will do, go to resources section, and I don't want dependencies, I remove them and I select the files whichever I want. I want pipeline, I want proxy, I want WSDL. Okay, 3 files I'm expecting. I want to create a jar file on my desktop. Let's go to desktop. See, this is the desktop. You can give some naming convention. First export. Some name. I mean, this jar name is not really matter, guys. This jar name will not make any difference in your code. It is just the jar name. It won't rename your project name. Okay, I'm just creating my jar. I said first export. Click finish. Once you click finish, what happened on your desktop? On your desktop, you can see a jar. See this first export. Okay, so this jar I want to deploy into OSB server. So like enterprise manager, for SOA programs we have enterprise manager. Like similarly for OSB programs we have something called service bus. Okay, for OSB programs, if you want to see the console, okay, the list of OSB programs, you need to go to service bus console. Okay, this is the URL http://localhost:/7101710/service bus. So this is the endpoint. You can open this. You can open this in any browser. You can open it in any browser, like your enterprise manager. The same user and password we can use. So this is how it looks like. Okay, this is your service bus console. You can see list of your OSB programs. As of now, I don't have any OSB programs in my service bus console. So I want to deploy it. Okay. So whenever you want to make any changes, so deployment of a program means it's a new program I'm introducing into OSB console. So whenever you want to make some changes in your service bus, you need to create something called a session. You need to create a session. Okay. It's not a direct deployment like your SOA program. SOA program, what we do, we go to enterprise manager and we can deploy we can export the jar file. There is an option SAR file deployment, right? So, but in OSB, we don't have direct option. What we need to do first, we need to create the session. Okay, you are going to lock your own session. Okay, so let's concentrate how I am doing the deployment. First, create the session by using this create button. Just click on create. Okay, so now you can see here all projects. Just click on all projects. Okay, here you have an option. Here you have an option called export resources. Just click on this export resources. Okay, once you click on export resources, here you can export the jar here. Export. Sorry, we need to go for import, right? Export is taking from here. We need to do the import. So import, this is the option for import. Just click on import. From JDeveloper, we need to export. In SB console, we need to import. Okay. So once you click on the import option, import config file, it is asking you to choose the jar file. Choose file. It is on my desktop. It is on my desktop. This is the one, file export. File export. Say okay, right? You just need to import the file. Just click this next icon. Next icon. Done. So it is showing you what are all we are trying to import. What are all we are trying to import? You can see all the files here. Okay, WSDL, proxy, and a pipeline. If everything looks good for you, simply click import. Done. So you want to import another jar file, you can go with this option. As of now, I don't want any other import. Just close it. And observe here the project imported. Project imported. See the file naming convention. It is the same project name what we have in the JDeveloper. Okay. Jar name will not make any difference. Jar name is just a user-defined keyword. Okay, once the import completed, you need to activate the session, guys. You need to activate the session. Just click on the activate button. You can give some description. This is my first OSB import. That's it. Okay, activate. So once you activate, then only the complete deployment will be, I mean, the deployment process completed. If you don't activate it, it will not reflect. I mean, the deployment will not be reflected. Okay. Let's wait for a few seconds. It will complete the process. Okay. Done. So session activated. Session activated. You can see your project deployed. If you expand this project, you can see all the required files. Okay. And one more thing, guys, here you need to observe, we don't deploy composite file. We don't deploy the composite component. Okay. I don't know why we got duplicate files here. I got duplicate files. I will check that later. Anyway, so we don't deploy the composite file. We just deploy the required files here because the composite file is not mandatory. This is just for design purpose, and this won't do anything for you in the execution of the program. Okay. Right. So now, how to test this program? It's very simple. Go to proxy service. Go to proxy service. If you click on this, it will open a proxy file here. Okay, it will create a proxy file, and you can see there is something called launch test console. This is the icon. If you click on this icon, it will open a test console, something like your enterprise manager. In enterprise manager, you have a test console, right? Similarly, here also we have, this is the test console, and you can see what is the operation you want to test. As of now, we have only one operation in the WSDL, and this is the request format. We don't have any business logic in our service, right? I'm just trying to submit the request. What will happen? Just observe. Execute. If I click on the execute button, see this is the request document. It's a SOAP service. So your input enclosed in the SOAP envelope. your input enclosed in the SOAP envelope, and this is the input XML we submitted. And observe the response. Observe the response. Whatever input we submitted, the same thing is coming back as response. Okay, whatever input we submitted, the same thing coming back as a response. That's what I am calling it as echo service. But how this behavior is happening, I will explain. Wait for some time. I will explain you what is this behavior, how this is coming, how the request coming as response, I will explain. Okay, there is a background we need to understand. Okay, this is how you need to test the proxy file. Proxy file. Sir, in OSB, we have an advantage, not just the proxy file. You can test every file. I mean, suppose you want to test the pipeline file itself, just pipeline file you want to test. Yes, you can test only pipeline file as well. So in SOA, it's not that you need to test the entire service, but in OSB, you can test pipeline, you can test proxy, you can test business service. Each individual component you can test according to your need. Okay, but in OSB, but in SOA, we cannot test each individual component. We have to test the entire service, correct? But in OSB, we have this advantage. You can test each component. Suppose I want to test my pipeline component. See, now I am launching test console on my pipeline. So here also it will show you the similar approach, but there is a difference. We have a little bit difference between proxy testing and pipeline testing. I will show you the difference going forward. Anyway, let me hit the execute button. Just click the execute button. You can see this is the request we submitted, and we got the request as response. Same XML we are receiving as a response. That's why I'm calling it as echo service. But how this behavior is happening, I will explain a little more detail. Okay, so hope you understand how to test the OSB service in SB console. But suppose I want to test my OSB service outside SB console, like SOAP UI. Okay, from SOAP UI, I want to test my OSB service. Yes, we can do that. By using SOAP UI, any technology SOAP web service we can test. For that, what you need to do, go to your proxy file. Go to your proxy file first. So this is my proxy file. Here you can see the endpoint. If you go to the transport tab, here you can see the endpoint URI. Okay, so copy this endpoint URI, go to notepad file. Okay, so what we need to do, this is the endpoint of my proxy file. What I need to do, construct the endpoint, construct the URL, concrete visible URL, http:// your server host name. My server host name is localhost as of now. Of course, whatever the host name, wherever the server deployed, that machine has a host name, that host name you can use. And I'm using my default port number. And then this is the endpoint. This is the endpoint. Okay. And then question mark visitor. So this is the concrete visitor URL of your OSB web service. Okay. So you can test it from a browser. Go to browser, use this URL. See, you can able to see the concrete visual of your OSB service. So this is the endpoint. So this is how you need to construct the endpoint. Okay, you need to go to SB console, open the proxy file, go to transport tab. You can see the transport tab, you can see the endpoint. Okay, there is another approach. You can go to JDeveloper. If you go to JDeveloper, here you can see something called proxy file. Just open the proxy file. Similarly, we have a transport tab here, and this is the endpoint URI. Okay, guys, the advantage in OSB service, this is one more advantage. In SOA program, once you deploy the SOA service into your SOA server, a concrete visible URL will be generated, correct? If you go to Enterprise Manager, you see this, if you go to Enterprise Manager, we have a concrete visible for every SOA service, no doubt, but we don't have any control on the endpoint. It's a default system generated endpoint, correct? But in OSB, we have an option. You can modify this endpoint by your own. You can change it. You can give any keyword as your endpoint. Okay, and then you can deploy your service. You got it? In SOA, we don't have a complete control on endpoint construction. But in OSB, we can construct the endpoint. See, sometimes we may get questions. What is the difference between SOA and OSB? These are all the differences. Number one, see, the endpoint construction we can do in OSB, we have entirely, we have complete control on the endpoint construction, but in SOA, we don't have complete control. So if you go to any SOA program, let me show you. Let it load. Okay, if you see here, deployed composites. Let's open any deployed composite. Any. I mean, I have REST services as of now, but anyway, if you open any SOA project, there is a visible definition icon, right? Um, Let it load. But in OSB, we have option. We can customize this. You don't need to stick to this one. You don't need to stick to this endpoint. You can change it, whatever endpoint you want, you can change it. But when you are testing the service, you need to construct the URL by your own. You need to provide the host name, you need to provide the port number, and at the end question mark visitor. Okay, let me test this. Let me test this. See, this is the WSDL icon, right? Show WSDL icon in any SOA service. If you click on it, so this is a defined WSDL. We don't have any control on the reconstruction of WSDL. Okay. Sorry, this is a REST service. I opened a REST service, but if you open any SOAP web service in SOA, if you go to this icon, show WSDL icon, you can see the auto constructed WSDL URL. We don't have any option to customize it. We don't have option to modify the URL. Okay, but in OSB it's not that. In JDeveloper itself, you can modify the endpoint if you want. Okay, you can give any endpoint here. Done. Anyway, let me show you how to test this. It's a simple approach, same approach how we tested the SOA SOAP web service. Similarly, OSB SOAP web service also you can test. So what you need to do, this is provide the WSDL URL here, initial WSDL, provide the WSDL here, and project name is your choice. You can give any name, find even or odd. Okay, just say okay. Done. We got a project. We got a project. Save it. Save it. I will save it on my desktop. Let me save it on my desktop, and now you can go to request one. Okay, see, same testing process. This is a SOAP web service testing by using SOAP UI tool. Okay, let's give some input here. 2, 3, 4. Submit the request. Okay, just go to XML tab. Go to XML tab. Observe here, whatever request we submitted, the same thing we got here. Okay, so this is, we are calling it as echo service. Okay, we'll see what is echo service anyway. So this is how, I mean, I'm showing you different things today, right? How to create the application, how to create OSB application, how to create OSB project, okay, how to create pipeline, proxy, and how to browse the WSDL, and I mean, a basic web service, a basic SOAP web service, OSB project, and I introduced how proxy looks like, how pipeline looks like, okay, basic components, and we did not make any customization here. Are we good? Any questions till this point? Any questions? How to make one small OSB program, how to deploy the program, how to test the program within the service bus console and SOAP UI. These are all the different things, different activities I want to show you. These are all the activities we use in every example. In every example, we use them. Okay, right. So let me talk about what is this echo service. Okay, why I am concentrating on echo service. Suppose, guys, if you create a DeepL web service, you don't get this echo service behavior. Okay, why it is different in OSB? In OSB, we have two types of variables. Okay, context variables, custom variables. Okay, context variables and custom variables. I will talk about each of them, but I just want to introduce few variables. Body, inbound, outbound, header. So there are attachment. So there are few context variables, guys. When I said context variable, it's a predefined variable. Predefined, I mean, in our pipeline at this point of time, there is no logic defined. There is no logic defined. Okay, but every pipeline comes with context variables. It comes with context variables, and your pipeline body is the variable. Body is the variable which behaves like input variable and output variable. Input variable and output variable. See, this is very important, guys. Listen carefully and concentrate. We have body variable, only one variable, which acts like an input variable. The same variable acts like an output variable as well. In Beeple, if you see, receive activity has input variable, reply activity has output variable. Two different variables we have. Input variable is different, output variable is different in Beeple process. But in OSB, body is one context variable. It is a predefined variable, and body acts as input variable. Body acts as output variable as well. Are we good? Okay. Now, whatever input we submitted, some input, right? We submitted some input in XML as input. What happened? This input received by this pipeline. Pipeline receives the input. Once pipeline receives the input data stored into input variable. What is our input variable name? Body. Our input variable name is body. Any questions as of now? Your pipeline receives input data, input XML. That input XML stored into input variable. What is the name of the input variable? Body is the name of the input variable. We don't have an option to create separate input variable. Okay, we have to bound with the existing pipeline behavior. So body is the input variable. It is fixed input variable in a pipeline file. Okay, so whatever input received stored into body variable, because body variable is the input variable. Once input received, it will try to execute some business logic. Do we have any business logic in this pipeline file? No, we don't have any business logic in this pipeline file. Okay, so because there is no business logic in the pipeline file, your pipeline will start sending the output. There is nothing to execute. There is nothing to execute. It will send the output. So what is the output variable in pipeline file? Body is the output variable. Body variable behave. It is doing two different jobs. Body variable as input variable. Body variable as output variable. So once it receives the input, it will try to execute the business logic. Unfortunately, in our service, there is no business logic. So it will say logic completed and send the output back. So when it is sending the output, again, the pipeline file utilizes or pipeline file consider body as the output variable. Already our body variable contains our input XML. Is the point clear? Already our body variable contains input XML. There is no business logic applied. So the same body variable is coming back as output variable. Okay, that's what the reason when you test your service, the same input XML is coming back. Same XML is coming back as output. So that's what this is called as echo behavior. Echo behavior. If you don't have any business logic in your service, body variable stores the input data. There is nothing, no business logic to execute, and the same body variable is sending back as output. Okay, any questions? This is the echo behavior. Any questions from anyone?
No, sir.
No, guys. OSB, you need to concentrate. Don't deviate your brains, guys. Concentrate on the class. There is much theoretical concept. Of course, once you understand, it will be very easy for you. But if you don't understand, things are not visible for you. Like SOVA, you don't see everything on the screen. Okay. See, there is one of the main difference here. In OSB, we don't have instance concept. We don't have a tracing concept. in SOA, if you execute the SOA program, you have instance, right? If you execute 100 times, if you execute your SOA program 100 times, 100 instances will be created. But in OSB, we don't have a concept called dehydration store. We don't have a dehydration process. It is like any other programming language like Java, .NET, okay, C, CPP, how you execute the program. So OSB program also you can execute, but you don't expect the instances here like SOA. SOA program we have instance, right? Every program you can open and see, every execution of the program you can open and see the instance, what happened, what input received, what output generated, what logic executed. You cannot see. You cannot see in OSB. So OSB is a lightweight. OSB is a lightweight component comparatively SOA. OSB is a lightweight, obviously faster in execution, but but the disadvantage here is SOA has a dehydration capability, but OSB don't have dehydration capability. Okay. Of course, how to debug the program, we'll see how to debug the program, what are all the options we have, but understand one main difference between SOA and OSB. SOA has dehydration capability, but OSB don't have dehydration capability. SOA is stateful service. Stateful service. Every step of the program will be recorded, and you can see the execution even in the feature. Even in the feature, open the instance and see what happened on the date. But OSB program is stateless program. It is stateless program. We don't have dehydration store, so you cannot expect an instance like SOA instance. Okay. Any questions as of now? Right. So that's it for today, guys. I'm not doing any business logic here. In next session, we'll configure the business logic and see more. We'll get the more inputs about OSB technology. Okay. Any questions from anyone? I will stop the recording.
Yes, sir.